Timer started.
You know what sucks about getting old?
Being gray?
Growing woefully out of touch with whatever's going on in the world. Because we grew up with what we knew and understood and we learned from the time we were little kids up until we were adults, or thought we were adults. And then into the age where we had our own kids and stuff. And then at some point, maybe it started in the 40s, in my 40s, or maybe it waited till I was 50, but there became this progressive detachment from what was going on. Issues came into existence that I never ever thought about. And I only can view them from my life experience. And I just had to unfriend somebody. I didn't block them. I just unfriended them because I was in a conversation and I was trying to explain that the topic, which is one of the volatile topics of our time, transgender stuff. There was a reference to J.K. Rowling, and I don't know anything about what J.K. Rowling has done recently. But I only knew about this one thing months ago that I read, and so there was a comment about things that J.K. Rowling did, so that I wrote what at the start of it was, all I know about the J.K. Rowling thing is this, and I researched it, and what I found out based on my digging was that she didn't actually at that time say anything specific. She just supported a friend, blah, blah, blah. That's what I remember researching. However, apparently since then she said some things that have upset the transgender community. And the person who I recently just unfriended responded to me and kind of set me on the right course, and then somebody else sent me a link to an article that would illuminate me. And then somebody after, I said, oh, thanks for the link. I appreciate that. I'll go read it. Then somebody else jumped in and just jumped all over me in a manner that, well, no, not quite that bad, but in a way that left me feeling like, ugh, like that was uncalled for. That wasn't necessary, and that made some negative assumptions about my attitude, in my opinion. So I eventually wrote something after giving it some thought saying, essentially, if you have a cause, and when you're talking to somebody else about your cause, you leave them feeling good and supportive for your cause, well, great. You're getting probably what you want, support for your cause. However, if you interact with somebody about your cause in a manner that leaves them unsupportive and not even interested in sharing what they've learned, then that's on you. And then the person I unfriended, they deleted my comment because they found my comment touched on areas that I guess they felt were, I don't know, uncalled for. Because what I said was, I was trying to make the point that in my case, the area that I focus most of my attention on in that regard for injustices in the world is about Canadian Aboriginal rights. I said there's lots of other injustices that I probably don't even know about that I'm not following, like some that I know about and am following a little bit, not paying a whole lot of attention to. And then there's a bunch I probably don't even know about. So I was saying that to point out that my focus connected to this person who was going on about how I was out of touch. It's like, yeah, my focus is over here and you want me to focus where you are, but the way you're interacting with me leaves me not interested in focusing on where you are, in, desiring my focus. And that's on you because of the way you interacted with me. You left me with I don't want to talk about this anymore. This is unpleasant. And my post that I carefully wrote to explain that there's a need to be the ambassador for your cause if you want to gain support as opposed to lose support, they just deleted all my carefully written words and told me that they weren't happy with what I wrote and that I didn't have a right to tell people that they were
ambassadors for their cause,
I guess. Anyway, so what I'm finding is, so I'm coming up on, I guess, 2 more birthdays till I'm 60, and I'm just blocking people and deleting friendships left, right, and center on Facebook because it's like I cannot effectively communicate with people from a different generation. No matter what I do, no matter how much effort I make, they just can't hear what I'm saying.
I don't even think it's a generational thing for you. It's you're very logical, and you think if you can explain something to someone by being logical, or even changing to a different point of view that's logical, that they're going to get it, and they don't get it. And when you say to someone, that's on you, then they feel shame, right? And nobody wants to feel shame. They have to either attack back or, I don't know. No one wants to feel shame. No one can admit they're wrong except you and a few other people. I don't even like to admit I'm wrong.
Like I went and read this link to the J.K. Rowling's article, and she was saying some things in there that I could kind of relate to, in the sense that, okay, I see the point she's making there, and I think that's a valid point. And I could see how that valid point wasn't probably perceived as a valid point from within the trans community. For example, one of the things that was mentioned was, if you live in a society where anybody at any point in time can just announce, hey, I identify as female, which is why I'm using the female washroom, or I identify as a woman, so now I'm going to use the women's washroom. Women who don't like the idea of somebody who yesterday was a man and today is a woman are going to take exception to that. So there's a lot of potential problems in the whole transgender.
Wasn't it a sports thing too?
It's also in sports too, because if I grew up as a man for, say, 20 years, and then I suddenly identify as a woman, and I'm still physically a guy,
and you get to the Olympics and you win.
I'm going to pummel, like in any combat or one-on-one sport, I'm probably going to pummel anybody in my weight class, because my body's not a real woman's body. Even though I declare as a woman, my body isn't a woman.
Yeah.
And that's partly what I think J.K. Rowling was talking about too, is that a woman is a woman and a man is a man, and you can't change it. From a physiological point of view, is partly what she's saying. But within the transgender community, that's the physical isn't to be separated from the identity, I guess. But and I don't even really know that I can relate. I'm just saying I only can relate to it from where my thought first goes. Is that if a guy walks up and punches me, then I interact with him how I've been trained to interact with him. If a woman walks up and punches me, I'm not supposed to hit the woman, right? But if a woman who is actually formerly a man walks up and punches me, and she doesn't look like a woman to me, I'm going to treat her different than a real, all her life has been a woman. Because she will appear to me as a different sex. Like, oh, she's going to be easy to pummel. I shouldn't pummel this person. Mm-hmm. Versus the woman who used to be a man who walks up, then I'm probably, but I mean, how do I interact with that, right? It looks like I'm being attacked by a guy, but she identifies as a woman, and it's just complicated.
That's your timer. You have a minute to wrap up.
Well, anyway, so it's just complicated. So what I'm finding is more and more I just kind of pushing myself away. If my psychological experience was translated into physical proximity to humanity, I'd be moving farther and farther away from humanity.
How many people do you follow on Facebook? How many people turn up in your feed?
Less and less now. But I don't know.
10,
I don't know. I don't know. I just find some of it's very. Some of the concerns are less worthy than others. Like, you have indigenous communities that don't even have fresh water and haven't had fresh water for a long time. How do you compare that? And they've been mistreated in many ways. And how do you compare that to, I'd rather be identified as a woman.
I like your Jedi. I want to be the Jedi Knight with you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do that.
I want to be identified as a Jedi. My sexual gender orientation is Jedi.
And then I'm not going to breastfeed. I'm going to laser feed.
No, I'm gonna nipple feed. Nipple feed. Yeah, I mean, all this making up new words stuff is just, and everybody who's making up this new stuff really should be accommodating for the thousands and millions of people who have no clue where they're coming from. They really ought to be ready for people to go, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And that's all I got for today.
Bye.
Bye.